As I mentioned, I think in my last video, which was the Tama Birchby Binger Cordia snare drum, I managed to pick up rather a lot of cymbals last year. I think it was 25 and a half, the half being a hi-hat bottom, and I actually kept track of all of the cymbals that I bought, and then had a mild coronary when I realised how many it was after I totaled them up at the end of the year. I didn't do that for anything else, although the bits and pieces that I have picked up this year, I have now made a note of. So if I do a video like this in a year's time, it should be an awful lot easier. Not everything is bought for, I suppose, shall I say, lustful reasons. You know, some things have practical use. Some things are bought because I want to sort of keep them and collect them. So in terms of some of my favourite things from last year, I think for cymbals, I couldn't really pick out one particular thing. I know I don't do an awful lot on the sort of cymbals that are here. I probably should do, because there's an awful lot more of them than there are snare drums. I think I managed to pick up some red Colour Sound 5 cymbals, some red crashes. Obviously not everyone's thing, but they do go rather nicely with the original Crystal Beat kit, which is well, the bass drum's right behind this video camera. And the red with red, you know, it kind of goes. It's a bit corny, but you know, I dig it, and they don't sound too bad actually. So I picked up a few of those. I picked up some. In fact, I picked this up. I managed in January of last year, so just over a year ago, on one day I managed to pick up two 12-inch splashes. Now this is a K. This is a K splash. I picked them both up off of eBay, and I really like the sound of this. I was never a big fan of 12-inch splashes right up until about probably 2015 or so, and I think I got one 12-inch splash, and I thought, that doesn't sound too bad actually. So you know, I suppose it's more of like the way I am. I then have to sort of go and get one from every bloody line that I have. So I picked this up for probably some silly money. I think it was about 60 quid or something. And it arrived, I played it, and it actually sounds really nice. It's very splashy. It sounds like obviously a large splash, because that's what it is, but you know, it sounds very splashy. It's very in context with the 8 and the 10k splashes that I also have. Oddly enough, the other splash that I got that day was a Peisty Colour Sound. It was a Peisty 2000 Colour Sound 12-inch splash, which sounds like shit. It just basically clangs, and it works it works in a sort of a louder environment, but other than that, it's not a great cymbal. So that was rather a disappointing purchase. I mean, it's fine, it serves a purpose, but that probably goes to highlight the you know, some things I buy because, you know, they're really cool and I want to get into them and keep them, and other things it's just sort of to you know, because it's there and I have a bit of cash and I'll take a punt on it. I think last year worked well for completing little sets that I have, sort of like the Peisty 2002's got a little set of that. Peisty 3000's got a few of those now. You know, it's just things like that. In terms of snare drums, though, I think, and I could be massively wrong on this, I think I managed to get or have delivered, I think it was like 10 snare drums in the space of about 2 months. You know, I can't really pick out a favourite snare drum, but I do again have sort of high points. For me, actually, one of the high points definitely was the 12-inch Sia red gum snare drum, which I think is it's my favourite 12-inch snare drum that I have out of the, I don't know how many I have actually, say 7 or 8 12-inch snare drums. I think that is probably my favourite. It's got a lot of character to it, a lot of body, and I think, as I said in the actual video when I put it up a couple of weeks ago, it doesn't really sound like a 12-inch drum. if you tune it sort of fairly low, which is sort of where it's almost at the moment. The Tama Star Reserve, the first one, that was a very cool drum. The 14x5. Not really a gigging drum for me. Something that I you know, is to sort of take out and have in here for now. Definitely a nice drum though, and should I start playing jazz or anything light at some point in time in the future, I think I will probably take that out and play it. It's definitely up there though as a high-end snare drum, and as I've said in the Volume 3 drum video, I'm hoping that they won't bring out any more just yet, but if they do, I'm going to have to see what it is and maybe get hold of that as well. Another couple of drums though. The 12x5.5 DW Bel Brass. Not particularly because it was any sort of uber special drum, but it was Bel Brass snare drums are something that I never really anticipated owning, and it was cool to finally get on the ladder with, well, a couple of those actually in the end, as it turned out. But you know, to finally experience a Bel Brass drum has been very cool. Another couple of snare drums. The Tom Meadows, I got a couple of snare drums in April from Tom. The 13x7 whitewash, for two reasons. The first one, because it matches my kit, so that's the obvious one, and also because of the sound. I still think it's a lovely sounding drum. It's kind of set up to do really only one thing, which is kind of that sort of Steve Jordan-y sort of crack type thing. But you know, I like that drum for, you know, for what it is. The other one, which oddly enough is over there, is that drum there, which is the 13x9 Provenance drum, which Tom used on the Kylie Minogue tour in 2011. You know, Provenance, Tim makes some great drums. I hopefully should have another one to review fairly soon. But Tim makes some interesting drums. They're very cool. That particular drum though, it only does the one thing. You know, it's good at what it does, but it only does the one thing. The thing for that really for me is that it's a bloody nightmare to try and find a snare drum stand that will go low enough for me. It's 13, the shell is 13x9, then you put the hoops on, so obviously you've got another sort of 1.5 inches there. Yeah, it's just a nightmare for me because I don't sit very high and haven't put up like this. But it's a nice drum. And I think for snare drums, that's probably it. I mean, I got other bits and pieces. I did get another Adrian Kirschler drum last year, which was the Craviotto Bronze, and that's a very cool drum. But then again, you know, Adrian makes very cool drums. He doesn't make anything but very cool drums. So, you know, I think if your benchmark is 10 out of 10, then you know, it's you're never really going to fail on that one. So in terms of other stuff, well, I only got one drum kit, which is probably a good thing, which is the Sakai kit that's still down there. And let's just have a whiz at that. That's in the, you know, in the darkness. Now that's that kit is probably going to come down later on this week, but I'm still learning about that kit. I'm still learning because it's a modern kit. It's made with modern materials, but you know, with modern standards, and it's very quiet. It's not a kit that I can gig with at the moment, but in terms of having it, I'm very glad that I do have it, because I've got some recording. I've got hopefully a couple of recording things coming up this year, and whilst I will probably use the Craviotto for the majority of that, that's definitely something I would I'd be interested in maybe taking out with me as well. Other drums, I think the Craviotto 16-inch bass drum would be my other pick, really. If you've ever played, or if you own a 16-inch bass drum, you'll know what an absolute nightmare they are, or can be, to tune and set up and make them feel like they're actually a proper bass drum. I've got a Manu Cache hip gig kit, and I've had that for over a decade, and it was only last year when I came to play it. It comes out occasionally for the odd gig where I've got basically no space, and we did a couple of those last year. I've had that, as I said, for over a decade, and it was only last year where I figured out the right head combination and actually, funnily enough, bass drum beater that actually made it feel like it was a semi-proper bass drum. But the thing was I did that, and then I got the Cravioto bass drum, and it plays like an actual bass drum, which is wonderful. It's a complete revelation. But the thing is, with that, it feels like a proper bass drum. It's got the full front head on it. I think I've got cotton. Actually, Tom had cotton wool balls, I think, in there to muffle the drum up a little bit, and I've left them in there. I changed the heads, but I've left them on there. And it's also got a rewired speaker inside as well to pick up some of the low end. And when the whole thing, actually acoustically, it was fantastic. I had it set up in here a good few months ago, and you know, a lot of sub, but it feels like a proper bass drum as well. And then when it's mic'd up, you get the attack from the outside mic, and you get the low end from the inside mic. And I did do a video a good while ago playing the kit, and I'll put a link in the description for that, which was the 13, 14, 16-inch setup, but with this 16-inch bass drum. So anyway, I think they're probably my high points from last year. I did actually remember I got a Donette 2N steel drum as well, and that's quite cool. I've not done anything on that. I got that for my birthday last year, or yeah, indirectly for my birthday last year, and that's a cool drum. All in all, those were my, I think, high points. I have most of my high points anyway from 2016. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.